Hey there, welcome back. You know, it's funny I run into you because I just got back from my Final Fantasy adventure. Why not tell you about it? Well, honestly, before we get into it, we gotta go through the history. Because technically, I didn't really play Final Fantasy Adventure, but hear me out. First of all, this is the first real Final Fantasy spin-off. It's legit. It did spin into another series, it became its own thing, but it started as a spin-off. Final Fantasy Adventure, it is a real-time action game instead of a turn-based. Little changing it up. There's no party, you're a one-man army. If you played like a Zelda game, it's like a Zelda game, really. So this style of gameplay ended up turning into the Mana series, which it's a bad name for a series, just the Mana series. So Secrets of Mana, that's the big thing, that's the big one. This was remade on the Game Boy Advance one day, removing all Final Fantasy elements from it, adding new story, adding new elements to the game and stuff like that. They really remade it into its own, no, this is for real, the start of the Mana series. They called it Sword of Mana. So of course I didn't play that version because there's no Final Fantasy. What reason would I have to play that? Well, for this reason, they remade the game again in 2016, no less, a Vita exclusive game. Well, it was on the smartphone. It was actually made for smartphones, which we'll get into. So this game tried to do not a new kind of style remake, really just like a graphical upgrade, like a full grid by grid. This is the same game, better graphics and all that stuff, and instead of calling it Final Fantasy or Mana, they joined the two titles together. They took the adventure part and the Mana part and just called it Adventures of Mana. So there you go. That's the version I played. Figured I got a little tired from Game Boy from Legend 2. I wanted a little break from Game Boy, so figured it's a remake, it'll be easy, stuff like that. And it kind of was, but I heard from a lot of people, maybe you didn't want to play the remake, maybe you wanted to play the original. And I see why after playing it, but it's iffy. It's depending on preference. Like I said, Mana is on the Vita, it's on the smartphone, it's $10. To play Final Fantasy Adventure, the only modern way to do it is to buy the Collection of Mana, which includes Secrets of Mana and Trials of Mana. And that's that's like a full game. I'm not going into any other Mana series games, so this is the only one. I figured I'd just do Adventures. It's funny though, in terms of references, I can kind of count the amount of Final Fantasy references on one hand. It's not a whole lot. I can see why they just said, let's just make it its own thing. Radically different gameplay and basically its own world, so it's whatever, it works as its own thing. First off, you have a chocobo friend that you get at one point, and you can just have her follow you around and get up on her and ride her around. It's pretty great. At one point in the game, you mod her to get jets so you can surf on water on your chocobo. It was sick. There are certain spells that people cast on you and you can turn into a Moogle. Moogles aren't in the game, but you can turn into one and you'll just you'll not be able to do anything. You'll just waddle around until it wears off. Also, Ifrit's in it. He's like a boss. Whenever you level up, you can choose a proficiency. So you can be a warrior, a monk, a white mage, or a black mage. The original 4 from Final Fantasy 1. Love that. So that's kind of where that whole spin-off angle goes into, but otherwise, it's really its own thing. So yeah, I've said it before, this is really a Zelda game. If you played Link to the Past, Link's Awakening, Oracle, it's all the grid-based screen. You go into a new screen, it loads, you kill enemies, you go to a dungeon, you do a puzzle to unlock a door, stuff like that. It's very, very comparable. I will say, I'll just go out on a limb. Just play Zelda. I don't think anything in this game made me think, oh wow, this is cool. Whole time I was thinking, oh cool, Zelda did this better though. Zelda kind of did this better. Here's an example. Imagine if in Zelda, you can only buy bombs and small keys. You can only buy them. You didn't find them. You didn't solve puzzles for them. They didn't drop out of enemies. I think they kind of do a little bit in this game, but it's very rare. My point is, when you see a wall that's got a crack in it, you're like, okay, I'll use a bomb. You always got a bomb. You always got some bombs. You carry a lot of them, and you replenish them pretty easily. In this game, you have like a pickaxe that breaks those kind of walls, and there's like 7 uses of it per item. You do have a small inventory. This is a Game Boy game. Once again, you have a small inventory. So you can only have so many of those pickaxes, as well as keys, which yes, you have to buy the equivalent of small keys to open random doors that won't open. If you run out of your pickaxes, you can't progress through that cracked wall. Maybe it's just a bonus area, you could skip it. Maybe it's the area you gotta go through. And if you go too many rooms back, the wall might replenish. So 7 uses out of 1 pickaxe is a lot less than it seems. So for small keys, you definitely need them to progress through areas. And it's not like in Zelda. You know how dungeons are crafted in Zelda? It's like there's usually a specific place you gotta go. A puzzle you have to solve, an item you have to get, a boss you have to kill, and then it opens the rest of the dungeon to you, and you can like fall back through it with new abilities that you discovered and see things in new ways, and it's like, wow, it's Zelda, you know, it's that top quality level design and all that stuff. Like, that's gone in this, because you have to buy keys. There's no mid bosses. There's not really like items in Zelda that help you get through areas. It's just like you can equip certain weapons, and some of them do different things. Some enemies can only be hurt by certain weapons, which is like, why? I can't just kill everything I touch. I gotta be like, oh, that's not effective, even though it's like Excalibur. Excalibur can't kill this ghost. I have to use a morning star. Why? I should mention the menu as well. So here's where we get into the phone game stuff. It's like a ring menu in the remake. You spin around, but again, there's only like 15 slots. Why do I gotta spin that around? Hey, I don't want to spin my inventory. There's only so many items in this game. You could have fit it all easily on just a box. Big box in the middle of the screen, and I tap what I want. Ooh, you got your touch controls in there, your precious little touch controls. Why do I gotta spin everything? Cause it's a phone? Why phone gotta spin? I gotta spin phone? So yeah, there are a lot of frustrations with the phone game and the weird level design that it doesn't encourage you to explore. When I get into a dungeon, if I run into a door, by the way, it doesn't tell you if it's a key door. It just uses a key. So you're also not really gonna know when you're out of keys if you're not paying attention. And that happened to me multiple times. Boom, door's locked. Oh yeah, okay, well, let me find spin the wheel. Let me find my key. Oh, where's my key? I had like 5 keys. No, you used them all on those 5 previous doors. Now you gotta go back to the shop in the overworld and buy more keys. That's so not fun, man. Why did they do that? Eventually you do get a weapon that breaks cracked walls, so the lack of pickaxe thing stops being a problem, which is nice. But yeah, that combined with the inventory being so annoying to deal with bummed me out a lot in this game. I will say it's not really a bad game. It's just like, if you're going for this kind of thing, there are 3 Zelda games on the Game Boy, and they're wonderful, so check those out. I don't want to talk about the phone too much because I'm really reviewing just the game itself, but I gotta say the remake is very, very unpolished. Low frame rates, game crashing, it quick saves like every room. I feel like that was like a band-aid they put on the crashing thing, or if you get stuck, if you get soft lock, whatever, you quick save so you can just go back anytime you want. I mean, it was nice, but like, it just screams, we didn't want to fix the crashes, we'll just put in a quick save. Okay. It feels rushed. There was one time I was just walking, you know, an invisible wall and a river, like you can't go into the river, but I just slipped off and started walking in the river. I was walking on the water and then I got stuck and there was no way to get back, so I had to like go back a few saves. And how did that happen? There are some rooms where you have to freeze enemies and push them on buttons, you know, solve a puzzle, like, oh, push the guy on the button so he opens the door and you walk through. but I killed the enemies before I even looked at this puzzle and realized, oh, okay, let me go back and in. No respawn. I was screwed. I had to leave the dungeon for everything to respawn and then come back, which made me use more keys and more pickaxes, you know. Just stuff like that is all over this game. It's very just lazy. And I don't know, I figured something like that would probably be in the Game Boy game, and you can excuse it because it's a Game Boy game, but 2016 remake? Nah, man, that's uncool. There was one aspect I hadn't realized was kind of a problem until very close to the end. Damage values. That's something that's very nice to look at in all the Final Fantasy games of previous. Even the Legend series does that. When you hit an enemy, you see the damage values. You know how effective your weapon is. Whether it's slightly not effective, slightly more effective, you know everything, man. They tell you that exact number that you did. I understand why they couldn't do that in a Game Boy game, but again, 2016 remake. You couldn't have put a little number when you hit a guy. I had no idea what damage I was doing at any time. Aside from the exact number of hits, I could think in my head, I guess. But I would get items that say this has a higher attack stat, and I would do less damage to certain enemies because I knew it would take less hits. But then that doesn't add up, does it? So that means certain weapons do better, but there's no way to know. Excusable for a Game Boy game, not for a Vita game. Okay, so I complained a lot about this game, but let's get into the good. The story's kind of basic, it's okay. The feeling of exploration in the overworld is quite fun. There are certain story events that happen that lead you into new areas and you don't know where you are and you gotta figure your way out. Very fun, very fun. Game's pretty easy. I don't know if you call that a good thing, but it's definitely the easiest. I mean, by far the easiest. I heard the Game Boy game was pretty easy too, so the remake might not be too much different. It's the shortest. Took me like 11 hours to beat. These are my positives. No, this game's fine. I complain a lot in these reviews. I don't know, I just have more to say about negatives. But, you know, this game wasn't that bad. It was just kind of boring. It's not a terrible game, but I wouldn't recommend it, especially over 3 other Zelda games on the same system, who honestly don't even need that much quality of life improvements because they're just that good on their own. If you haven't played Link's Awakening, it's like $8 on 3DS. Check it out. I don't want to be a Zelda fanboy, but those games really do everything this game does, but better. You have magic in this, which you don't in Zelda, but like, it's the lamest magic ever, man. It only really works when enemies are around. If you use fire, when no enemies are around, it just doesn't do anything. Why? I got thunder, I got sleep. I never used them. Think about it, man. This isn't turn-based, so you don't really have to think that much. You can just go in and chop them up. You got a sword, you got a morning star, you got like a sickle that spins around. A lot of weapon variety, that was cool. But again, it doesn't make you want to use any of the spells, especially because you got an MP bar and you can cure yourself, so you're probably just going to keep doing that. I mean, that's what I did, so I wouldn't say like missed potential or anything. It's just like a different game that didn't quite hit me. I feel like if you're going to do this style of gameplay, it doesn't quite work with Final Fantasy elements like spells and weapon variety and stuff like that. In Zelda, you got a sword, it kills everything, works nicely. The strengths of the game are in the world design and level design and everything like that. So hey, I mean, it's the first one. Maybe the Game Boy game's actually better, I don't know. Aside from all the bugs in the remake and everything. But I'm also sure, since that's older, maybe there is some quality of life I'm taking for granted in the remake and I don't even know about, so that's a thing. Sword of Mana is probably the best version, let's be real. But it's not a Final Fantasy game, so I couldn't play it. I'm sure the Mana series is fun. Secrets of Mana is like one of the best. I'm sure any of these problems are probably improved in those later games. But then skip this one, I guess. If you got access to the collection of Mana, I would honestly suggest just playing the Game Boy game. It's maybe better. Adventures of Mana, kind of fun. Not that worthwhile. That's it. That's all.